Another Dooley Noted podcast comes to you from the Coach's Podcast Room at Spurrier's Gridiron Grill in Celebration Point. Okay, and welcome into another Dooley Noted podcast brought to you by the great folks at Titan MRI from the Meldon Law Gator Studios. Today, Coach Spurrier makes his return. He's been is it out of the country if you're in the water going from somewhere to Alaska? You're technically probably were out of the country at some point.
Yeah, I guess you'd be intercoastal or something.
Yeah. Anyway, he was out of the country. Let's just say that. So he's back now. Look forward to talking to him. And Robbie will be on for Yes, No, Where. Maybe also we'll do a show next Monday and then no show on Thursday. I've got to go to Destin, and then we'll be back, and then we'll be on track, ready to go. Found out today we got another sponsor coming on board. Excited about that. The quarterback club's coming back on for football season, so that's always great. Met with them today, and actually they're going to kind of do something different this year. Andy Staples is going to do some of the introductions and scouting reports, and I do half, and he does half, which is great for both of us because you do 13 of those, and it kind of wears you down. But I'm looking forward to it. I love the club. Like we were saying, it's our club, not their club. It's our club, and they consider me a big part of it. So I'm looking forward to that. All right, let's get to our Process Service of Gainesville starting five, brought to you by Scott Hart and the Process Service of Gainesville. We appreciate them as a sponsor. Number one. I always say there's nothing good that can come out of training camp, and for the most part, I still live by that because most of the news you're going to get is going to either be negative or just company line stuff. So I don't pay a whole lot of attention to it. But the one good thing did happen this week is that Micah Mazuka is back in full participation. It's a guy that they need because obviously with Keontae Goodwin leaving school and going back to his home state because of his mom's illness. So they need a guy. Now again, he had a knee injury, I guess it was, and I'm not sure how good he's going to be. I don't know how he's going to be early. We'll see. But that was some good news. The bad news is that there is a lot of guys banged up. I don't think any of the injuries seems to be severe. Shamar James, of course, has got a knee problem. And it's so funny when I read these injury reports that the young hacks put out, and it's like almost everyone is, Joe Smith is out, unknown reason, unknown. I think Brian Kelly was the one who said last week we need to go to injury reports. You want to stop people from having access through the gambling industry to guys getting inside information? Issue an injury report. It's why the NFL does. I don't disagree with them on that. But anyway, that is good news that I think it's Mazuka, but it could be Mescua. But whatever his name is, I'll learn how to pronounce it if he starts for the Gators. Let's put it that way. Number two on the Process Service of Gainesville starting five. The ACC and Cal and Stanford struggling to get together, and again, we're taping this on Tuesday, or what is today?
Today's Thursday.
Thursday. We're taping this on Thursday. They run together. By Friday morning, you listen to it. Something could have changed. We talked about that a lot, but basically. I will give the ACC presidents credit for this. They're saying, why do we want to bring them in again? Oh, well, they're great academic institutions. They fit in our brand. I totally agree. North Carolina, Virginia, some great schools. Georgia Tech, no doubt about it. But why do you want to pay them a share that you are not getting enough of already? You've already had the Magnificent Seven want to leave the conference because of it. Why would you even want to bring them in? They're not going to add anything football-wise. They're not going to add anything eyeballs. I've looked up the eyeballs. They're not good for those two teams. And have to pay them, why do it? And that's what the presidents are asking. And they're going, well, because we think it'd be cool, and because Jack Swarbrick at Notre Dame asked the ACC if they would consider it because he's friends with Bernard Muir, who of course is a Gainesville guy, who was from Gainesville, but is the AD at Stanford, and he's trying to help him out a little bit and all that. I just don't think it makes any sense, and what we may end up with is a situation where the Pac-12 does survive this in some form. Now, again, it's still going to come back to the same thing that I've talked about before, which is, are you a Power 5 team if you've got half the teams are from the Mountain West or the AAC? It'll be interesting. Look, this thing is far from over. Don't forget, we've got a 12-team playoff next year when all these teams are moving around. And I know that Greg Sankey said the other day on Feinbaum's show, he goes, we got to relook at this thing. I mean, I'm sorry, but the Pac-12 is not a power conference now. It is this year, but it won't be next year. No matter what happens, no matter what teams. You bring in Boise and San Diego State and some of these other teams, I don't think that adds anything to your conference. All right, number 3 on the process service of Gainesville Power 5, starting 5, and it's Power 5 too. One thing I've thought about a lot, and it's a point that I can't really explain to people. And I heard a guy bring this up on yesterday, I think, or Tuesday. But anyway, that why could the TV networks not give the Pac-12 a good deal? Not much, they weren't asking for SEC money. They wanted to get Big 12 money, which was $32 million per team. They wouldn't give them that, but they'll give them that to go to the Big 12 because they're going to have to pay those 2 teams that went to the Big 12 that share. And I guess they worked it out there. They're going to have to do the same thing in the Big 10, where you're going to bring in all these 4 new teams. You're going to have to pay them a share. So the money's there. That's where it's kind of hard to figure out. And it just goes back to incompetent leadership. I'm sorry, that's the way it is. Whether it was Larry Scott was just a joke. Klyavkov is not much better. They just have done a lousy job of handling this. And that's, in the end, I talked about how you could go blame Georgia and Oklahoma on Tuesday. But the bottom line is you need to blame the Pac-12 commissioners. They're the ones who just did a lousy job, and that's why it's out. It doesn't look like SMU's got any chance to get in. I don't even know. I think that may have been a made-up rumor, which we get a lot of those in the business where somebody says, it'd be cool. What if they took Texas State? And then all of a sudden somebody says, hey, Texas State is a possibility. And all of a sudden it's a story. This is the problem. People without editors. Drives me nuts. All right, number 4 on the process service of Gainesville starting 5, some news in the NFL that Baker Mayfield will start the first preseason game, which I think is Friday, maybe Saturday.
It's Friday at 7.
Friday at 7. And it's not on TV. From what I was able to find, I looked at all the games that are on TV. Maybe it is. I think it's on the Plus. We'll get to that in a minute. So Mayfield starts this game, and then Kyle Trask starts the next game, which sounds to me like Mayfield has a leg up. Well, he does have more experience as an NFL guy. It really doesn't matter who starts the opener for Tampa Bay. They're not going to be that great, and somebody else will start eventually. So I almost hope Kyle Trask doesn't start. Then there won't be any pressure on him when he comes in. You can go, hey, I'm the second teamer. I just hope it goes well. It's like I'm not a Bucs fan at all. But I will root for the Bucs because I love Kyle Trask. Still, one of my favorite interviews I ever did was the year when Felipe was still the starter, and Kyle, I asked for Kyle for months to get him, and Will Pantages, who did a great job, got him for me. Met him in the locker room, and we sat there and talked for an hour about why he wasn't leaving. He said, I'm not a portal guy. I don't believe in that kind of stuff. I came here. I'm going to get a good education. We'll see what happens. What happens ends up being great. The next year, he's as good as there was in college football, in my opinion, and now is in the NFL. So anyway, I root for Kyle Trask a lot. I root for a lot of players, but I root for him a ton. Finally, number 5 on our process service of Gainesville starting 5. 2 things I watched this week, and I enjoyed them both. One was the Johnny Manziel special that is basically in that category of where the Florida special is going to be. It's on Netflix. It wasn't done by the same production company, but it's being called Untold. It was really good. I was fascinated by it. I'll talk to Robbie and Coach Spurrier both about it later because there's some stuff in there that just it's mind-boggling. How he refused to watch tape, and he just was a guy who wanted to do it his way, and his way was not the right way, but it was right for 1 year, and he won the Heisman Trophy. And I got to say, I was having a hard time deciding whether to vote for him, mainly because they wouldn't let him talk to the media, and I was like, now I wasn't taking that personally because I covered the first game he ever played against Florida in College Station, but I just feel like if you're up for the Heisman, you should have to deal with things everybody has to deal with. I remember, was it Michael Bishop, I think, at Kansas State was a quarterback, and Bill Snyder decided he wasn't going to let him talk to any media. And he was, I think, a junior or senior. He wouldn't let him talk to media. He wanted him to be distracted. Yeah, I'm not going to vote for you then. You got to deal with us. Sorry. But they did. And this is why I eventually voted for Johnny Manziel. They did have a press conference the week before the Heisman. So where he did talk to me, he didn't say anything. He did say some things in Hoover, though, that were funny. Anyway, all right, so that is our process service of Gainesville starting 5. We got a busy show for you. Coach Spurrier's going to be on in just a minute. Then we'll get to Robbie Andrew to do Yes, No, Where, Maybe, and we got all of our other fun stuff to get to. We'll be back after we take this break with Coach Stephen Spurrier here on another duly noted podcast presented by Titan MRI from the Meldon Law Gator Studios.
Attention all Gator fans, Meldon Law is giving away a chance to experience the Florida-Georgia game like never before. 2-night stay at the Hilton on the River, dinner at Ruth Chris Steakhouse, 2 premium tickets to the game, and a football signed by Coach Billy Napier, and much more. Go to the Meldon Law Facebook page and look for the VIP experience for 2. Good luck and go Gators!
Another duly noted podcast comes to you from the Coach's Podcast Room at Spurrier's Gridiron Grill and Celebration Point. You can watch and listen to us on Facebook and YouTube for every podcast that we do on Mondays and Fridays at 2 o'clock. Listen to the podcast whenever on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Overcast, any of the other 39 platforms where you can find this podcast or your favorite podcast. Remember to like, follow, and subscribe. If you have any questions or comments, leave them in the comments section below or call me if you want to do some advertising at 352-317-3444. Okay, and welcome back to another duly noted podcast presented by Titan MRI from the Meldon Law Gator Studios. And, of course, all the appearances by Coach Spurrier are brought to you by Meldon Law. We haven't seen him in a while. He's been out. You were at you had a Hall of Fame invitation, but you also went to Alaska, right?
Yeah, we did the Alaska cruise, and I recommend it for anybody that loves to see most beautiful country.
Yeah.
The mountains are beautiful, the waterways, lakes, rivers, were calm as could be. We had perfect weather. The first 2 or 3 days, it was about 70, 75 degrees.
I don't know.
And then,
what world is that?
And then we went a little farther north, and we were up near the glaciers, and went out and watched the whales jump around a little bit. Yeah, it's sort of fascinating watching all the people. They had 2 or 3 boats, but some of the places we went, like Juneau and some of the other places up there, there's like 4 or 5 cruise ships docking in at the same time. Yeah. So the tourism is big up there right now. But you need to do it once at least. And so we did it. Jerry and I, our 2 daughters, and Amy's husband, Jay, So it was well worth it, and beautiful country.
Was there a reason behind it, or just you just wanted to do
I'd
it?
never been there, and I saw one of these brochures come through about 6 months ago, and signed up for it, and took a big part of our family. So it was
Yeah, that
just
must've been-
just a good trip.
My wife's
There's a few
asking me-
Gators on that boat.
Was there?
Yeah, a couple of guys lived here in Gainesville. In fact, they told me they're going to be at our 2-year anniversary next Saturday night here.
Well, actually, it's Monday.
Monday.
Yeah,
I'm sorry,
Monday, yeah.
Monday night, August 14th, I think.
Yeah,
So-
we're actually doing the radio show out here Monday.
Okay.
So we'll probably squeeze you
Wonderful.
in here. But yeah, that's 2-year anniversary of Spurrier's is Monday, and I know
Very
that
well.
the 5 to 9 is sold out. So I think after 9, you
Oh, is that right?
Yeah,
Okay.
that's what I was told.
Well, we advertise quite a bit, so maybe I don't need to advertise anymore if it's sold out. Yeah.
No, but it's cool. It is so cool that this place is still here and doing so well, and it's really become a centerpiece. You know?
Well, it's really good food, good service. People seem to enjoy coming. In fact, I enjoy coming. I sort of think, well, I got to go take a whole bunch of pictures with people and sign. Well, not much signing nowadays because everybody has a camera.
Yeah.
But then after I get here and we do it, and it's always some people I've known from years back or something or another. We had Nick Gillum, the golfer, played on the championship team. His friend had his 45th birthday. And he had about 10 couples outside there, and we were taking pictures the other night. So it is a fun place to come to.
I want to ask you if you have seen, and it's only been up on Netflix for a couple days here, and that's where the Urban Meyer Swamp Kings thing is going to be in a couple weeks. But the Johnny Manziel thing came out Monday or Tuesday, and I watched it the other night. I don't know if you've seen it yet.
I haven't seen it. I saw the write-up in USA Today about him doing that and so forth. Now, he's going to do a series, or is it
I think
just
it's
a
just a
one-time?
one-time deal,
Okay. Yeah.
But it was fascinating,
Yeah.
but it was just, you kind of went, man, you just want to shake him by the shoulders and go, man, you could have been so great.
I read where he said he pulled the trigger to kill himself,
Yeah.
and the gun didn't go
Gun
off.
clicked.
Didn't go off or whatever. I don't
Well,
know.
he went down to Cabo and spent $5 million on partying. Now,
did?
that's hard to do.
That's hard to do.
Yeah, and then with the idea of, I'll come home, kill myself, and it'll be all over. And he, luckily he didn't. And I felt bad for him at that point, but I mean, look, the guy, I remember being at SEC Media Days, and he still didn't get it. After he won the Heisman, I'm like, you won the Heisman, you might want to show up on time for some things. He's like, no, that's not who I am.
He, when he was at A&M, I don't know if he ever went to class or not. I heard somebody talk about they had online classes.
Yeah.
So they didn't show up at school.
I don't think Joe Burrow ever went to class.
Yeah, and that's what's going to be sad, in my opinion, Pat. When I got interviewed to come to Florida, I said, we need to graduate more players. We need some majors that the football players can take, because they can't compete academically with the regular student. Our regular students at Florida make 12 to 1,400 SAT,
right.
and football players make 800. They get in, And I was one of those 850 guys or something like that myself. So, but we need to get where they go to class and graduate. And now, I don't know how many graduate or not. They don't even talk about graduation rates much at all.
Not much.
Anywhere.
All this realignment that's happened while you were on vacation. That must have been weird to be out there on a cruise ship, and all of a sudden you go, what? Who went to what conference? It was just the whole thing was.
Well, it is a shame, because the only people that are benefiting from this are the football people.
Yeah.
And of course, the NIL, the players are getting all kind of money anyway. So I don't know if they care what conference they play in. But the universities are soaking up big money. And the students who play the game, the women's tennis team and soccer team, they don't want to go halfway across country. And I've read where some of the ladies said, I chose this school so my parents can come watch me play.
Right.
And they can't see me play half the games if they're cross country somewhere. So it's, and what I think is sad also, Pat, the way all these guys transfer, after a year or two, I don't know if they ever graduate, but they certainly don't have a home to come back to. I always used to tell our guys, you go to school in Florida, play well, graduate, keep your name clean, you always got a home to come back to the rest of your life. So that was something I used to tell them. Now they just bounce around. But I think in about 2028 to 30, all these guys that think they're going to play pro football, I think only 3% get a chance to go play.
Right.
And I read the other day that the lifespan is 3 years now. If you make an NFL team,
Right.
you can play 3 years, and then you're down there in the XFL, and then wherever.
So where Sony
Some-
Michel retired the other day.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, he played well and made a lot of money.
Yeah, he did.
So that's, but then what are they going to do then after their football is over and they have no degree and go from there? So
well, and that's the thing, Steve, is I'm curious at some point, because the sample size isn't big enough yet in terms of the transfer portal. We don't know how many guys are graduating, but in, say, 5 or 6 years, I would love to see that study done where they go, okay, of the guys who got in the transfer portal, here's how many graduated. I think it's going to be an incredibly low number, and that is going to be sad for college sports.
yeah, it could be. Some schools may have ways of allowing them to graduate correspondence courses and things of this nature. But anyway, yeah, time will tell. Once they bounce around and they're not playing pro football, then what am I going to do?
Right.
Instead of saying I wish I'd stayed and graduated with my class and go from there. But and it does work out for some that transfer also.
Yeah,
so
it does.
It's not 100% either way.
But it always cracks me up when a guy decides he's committing to a school and he says, I'm coming home, and I'm like, you're going to where you're starting, okay? You're going to start here, and then the next year we'll see where you are, and what your new home is. So you're right. It's like Gator for life. Well, not necessarily. There are Gators for life, as we know, but a lot of people that you don't know if they're going to be a Gator for life.
That's true. And it's sort of like the workplace in America nowadays. You know, you get a job here or there, and maybe you think a better offer's coming. So move around, but I think it's good to transfer for some of them, but others I think they should stay and stick it out.
What do you think of Chip Kelly's idea that we should all just go independent?
Well, there's a lot to that, and what I was sort of coming back to, talked about earlier, that football is the only sport that should have these mega conferences. I mean, the women's soccer team or tennis team or golf team, they don't need to be traveling cross country just to have a meet or a game or something. If they could just keep the conferences intact. In football, you guys go anywhere you want. You can be like Notre Dame, be independent. Just pick your schedule if you want to. But they can't get Notre Dame to join a conference, can they?
They can't. And Notre Dame's pushing Cal and Stanford trying to push them into the ACC to help them out. And all the ACC presidents are going, why do we want to give them more money? They're not any good in football. We don't. That's where the money is. But that and Dan Wetzel brought this up, and a couple other people brought this up. Maybe the answer is go ahead and have these football conferences, but leave the rest of it alone. So you'd still have a Pac-12, and it would still be Arizona, Arizona State, Stanford, and them. You would still have a Big 12 with just where you could play tennis, golf, and all these other sports against teams that you didn't have to travel a million miles to play.
And the conferences are getting so big now, and then they're going to do away with divisions, correct?
Yep.
Okay.
Which I don't get. I really don't understand. I know
I don't like
the
it either.
best teams playing, but I'd rather have a race down the stretch.
Well, back when I was coaching, and even last year, when you start setting your goals before the season starts, you'd like to have something that you can say, we won like the Eastern Division Championship.
Right.
That's the first thing, Eastern Division. Sometimes you have the state championship. Florida State, of course, they played Miami. If they beat us in Miami, they were the state champs, but Miami beat them a lot. And so anyway, we used to sort of say that was for the state championship. And then try to win the SEC and try to win your bowl game. So you have a bunch of little, bowl champs and stuff like that. And right now, with 15, 16 teams in the conference, man, that's hard to win that conference championship.
It is, and it's hard to get to it now because there's only 2 out of 16 teams.
Yeah, and winning the division, that's pretty neat. South Carolina's done it once in, 30 years they've been in the conference. We got it once, and so we're sort of proud of that. But I think there's only been 6 teams to win the SEC out of all that are in the conference right now. So Anyway, but you win that division. Missouri got a couple of divisions.
Yeah.
Didn't win the SEC,
I
but
mean,
that's
it's not
still
like
pretty neat.
Yeah, I mean, like the year that in '95, I don't think Arkansas was great, but they were that's who you played in the championship game.
Yep, they got
But
to.
that was cool because Arkansas was able to win their division and go there, and that gave them something to play for instead of just trying to play for the Gator Bowl or whatever.
Yeah,
You know?
a bowl bid.
But I don't know. I still don't grasp the whole. If you're going to expand the playoffs, why do you need to do away with divisions? To me, that would be the time to have more divisions. In fact, I would like to see the SEC be four teams and play that off at the end instead of playing McNeese State and teams like that. But anyway, we're almost there. Only a couple of weeks to go to football season, and I know you're now recharged and rested after your trip. But are you excited? How excited are you about football?
I tell you what, Kevin. Brockway, yeah, writes for the local paper, called me up, and he said, Coach, you know the last time the Gators played a Thursday night game? And I said, 1992. We went out to Mississippi State and got clobbered, and we got beat 30-6, I think it was, and the flight was delayed or something, and we got home about 3 in the morning, and the buses weren't there, and Jeremy was getting all over our associate AD. The guy went to Georgia.
McGarity.
McGarity. Yeah, McGarity was hiding somewhere. They said they'd be here. So we stayed on the runway at about 4 in the morning, I think. But we got beat because they were better than us that night, and we didn't coach very well, play worth a dang. And then we made some changes in the entire team. Defensively, made 1 or 2, and we got Jason Odom, who we're hoping to redshirt. I told him Monday, I said, Jason, you're going to be the starter at left tackle or right tackle, whichever one. And so he came on, and then we won 7 in a row, won the division, and lost to Alabama in the first ever SEC championship.
But that's the thing. You had that carrot out there to still play for. You know, that, hey, guys, we can still win this division and play for the championship because there's a championship game now.
Yep.
And so to me, that makes a lot of sense.
It does.
What do I know? You know,
common sense doesn't kick in. It's only the money. It's only the money.
It is incredible, and I mean, look. I mean, when you were coaching, obviously the money was a lot different, and you didn't have to deal with NIL. You didn't have to deal with the portal and everything. You didn't have to deal with all this realignment. I don't know. I don't think players care what conference they're in, but you know, they've got to be sitting there going, "No, wait a minute, who are we playing this year?" I mean, it's they've got to be kind of just blown away by it all, even though they're just going out and playing games. In football, I'm talking about. Other sports, they do care a lot.
Yeah, that's very true. But anyway, this year we're playing under the old rules. So
yep, that's right.
Let's go see if we can win the division to start with, beat the Bulldogs. And of course, we got to beat a lot of teams before the Bulldogs. Kentucky's beaten us, two in a row now, something like that.
3 of the last
3 or 4.
Yeah.
So.
Well, how about this? So Florida, the coaches poll came out, and it was 5 of the top 10 are on Florida's schedule. That's a tough schedule.
We do have a tough schedule. We played 2 Power 5 out-of-conference games, FSU and Utah. And I think the only other school in SEC that does that is South Carolina. And they played North Carolina and Clemson.
South Carolina's got a tough schedule.
They got a tough schedule, and that goes to your 1-loss record. A lot of schools like to get 4 sort of down the line teams, and there's 4 wins. If you go 4-4 in conference, you're 8-4.
Right.
Shoot, man, we went 8-4. Just and went 500 in the SEC. So schedule has a lot to do with it.
Well, when you used to vote on the coaches poll, I know they got mad at you because you kept voting for Duke 25th, the first poll, which is harmless in the first place. But they told you not to do that anymore. But did they ever get you involved in the that poll that they did with retired coaches? That I think Vince Dooley started it.
Is that right?
Yeah, no. It was like, I mean, nobody paid much attention to it. I wondered if they ever tried to get you to vote on it.
No, none of us probably keep up that closely with it if you're out of it. But yeah, it's just a preseason poll, but it's something to talk about. You know,
it is, and it used to matter. We all know how big a deal it was, both the polls.
Yeah, I heard somebody was complaining because Tennessee was 8th, and who was 7th? I forget.
Might have been Oregon. I don't remember.
No, there was another SEC team, maybe about 7. Not LSU, or I'm not sure who it was, but they were arguing about one should have been 7 and one 8, and who cares right now?
Well, it's just like last year when Florida beats Utah, and all of a sudden they're 12th in the country. They go from unranked to 12th, and I'm like, whoa! You guys are getting way over. That was a close game. Florida was very fortunate.
Very fortunate.
So they're not that good just because they won this game, and then of course they weren't that good as it turned out. And I think they're going to be better. And I know there's been a lot of, it seems like a lot of positivity lately coming from people. And I know that, for example, Shaner he does that morning show, is very high on Graham Mertz. So I know you're going to go out and watch practices at some point.
Yeah, I haven't watched many. But the thing I like about this year's team is we got a different defensive coordinator.
Yeah.
And Austin Armstrong is bringing some spirit, some life. Even the spring game, they've had some corner blitzes. I mean, they do some stuff. Yeah. They don't run up there and say, look around like, what do I do now? So we'll be, how bad we were on defense? Have you seen those stats?
I do. I know it was historically bad. It was the worst defense in terms of first downs they've ever had. Worst in points.
Yeah. Third down defense.
Third down, I think it was the worst they've ever had.
15 out of 16, or how many? Do we have 16? Yeah. We were 15th and 11th overall in the conference in total defense. Yeah. And we're first, second, or third about every year I was here. And that's why we won so many. Yeah, you got to play defense.
This used to be DBU.
Yeah.
But that's one thing I keep telling people. Everybody wants to talk about the quarterback and all. I go, this team will only be as good as its defense. If its defense is like it was, it's not going to be any good.
Obviously, throwing the ball is what you need to do to score a bunch of points now. But still, I tell people all the time, we won because the defense was always so good. And Eric Rett had 1,000 yards every year, I think. He's leading rusher in school history. And after him, Fred Taylor, Terry Jackson, Ernest Graham. I mean, we ran the ball and played defense and threw a bunch of touchdowns. And that's a pretty good combination there. But you still got to play defense and run the ball. And ETN averaged 6 yards a carry last year.
Yeah, he did.
We look back now and say, man, why didn't they give him the ball more? And he's going to get it, I think, this year. I really think he'll get it more because we don't have to worry about your quarterback winning the Heisman. Seemed like we were worried. I don't know what we were worried about. I would have ran Anthony more than maybe we did last year.
I think they had some plays called that he just chose not to run. That was part of the problem.
I think you're probably right. Yeah.
But before we let you go, we had Alex Brown on here last week, and it was great talking to him. And he was telling the story about how when you were going to move into defensive end, he wanted to quit, and he called his dad. You called his dad, and his dad said, "Coach, what did you tell Coach Spurrier when you decided to come to Florida?" I said, "I'll do anything I can to help you win." And he said, "Exactly," and hung up the phone.
No, I didn't do that.
That's a better story, though. That's a great story when they moved him over to defensive end.
I don't even remember him playing offense. What did he play?
No, he played linebacker.
Oh, linebacker.
Yeah, the defensive line.
Oh, okay.
He said his dad hung the phone up, not you.
Yeah, let's get this straight. Yeah. No, he was a natural. And he could have been a stand-up outside linebacker, rushing half the time. Yeah.
Kind of
like they do now.
Yeah.
A lot of these 3-down line teams, they got that stand-up guy that, like Alabama does.
Exactly.
And
obviously, it's pretty amazing. His sack record's still there, and I don't know if anybody's...
Alex Brown,
33 sacks.
Yeah, he was quick. He was quick off the ball.
He was offsides a lot, but they didn't call
They
him.
didn't call it. He went right when that guy at center started to snap. Yeah, I remember the Tennessee game. They were Tennessee bench was all pointing. He's offside. He's offside. But anyway,
well, he got to him a lot. 5 sacks and an interception in
that night.
Pretty good.
Yeah, that was it.
All right, we'll let Coach go. It's great to have him back on the show, though. We'll look forward to his next appearance. We'll be back with more of another Dooley Noted podcast presented by the great folks at Titan MRI, brought to you, as Coach Spurrier is, by Meldon Law.
Things have certainly got a little out of hand lately when it comes to just buying our everyday necessities. Just look at gas, streaming services, and heck, even chicken wings. Well, there is one necessity that shouldn't cost a ton: taking care of yourself and helping fix all the aches and pains in life, and the fine folks at Titan MRI agree. With costs a fraction of what you'd pay at a hospital, you'll not only save money, you'll be taken care of by staff with over 20 years experience. So when you need an MRI, call Titan first, and you can go where your doctors send their families. Now offering CAT scans.
Great food, great atmosphere, a diverse menu, everything made from scratch, plenty of space, and locally owned. These are all the characteristics of a great restaurant, and you can find each and every one of them right here in Gainesville at Ballyhoo Grill. Ballyhoo Grill prepares all of their food fresh every day, from their salad dressing to their award-winning soups. Bring your family and enjoy dinner under the Tim Tebow Tiki Hut while listening to live music. Or if you're running low on time to eat out, they also deliver through Uber Eats, Fight Squad, and Postmates. A Gainesville staple that's been open for over 30 years. Check out Ballyhoo Grill on Facebook or at ballyhoogrill.com.
Process Service of Gainesville offers a rapid turnaround on affidavits of service for Gator lawyers locally and nationwide. Our friend Scott Hart offers immediate responses on status requests and is a member of NAPS and FAPS. And he has been a part of the community for almost 2 decades. Need service? Call Process Service of Gainesville at 407-697-9592 or email shartgators, that's G8TR, at yahoo.com. And make sure you ask about the paralegal legal secretary bonus program.
Hello there, everybody. I'm Pat Dooley, of course, from another Dooley Noted podcast. And this is a great Adam Brewer, and he's just opened up a place here, Adam Brewer To Go. What would give you the idea to do this, to have a to-go place?
We really like the fast concept, being able to get the barbecue. Now we have this new online ordering. So before it was a call ahead carry out, quick service. We have like a curbside kind of a deal where, everything's ready to go for you. And then we thought, wow, we have a really great dine-in concept, but how can we make this streamlined for the customer and make it easy and accessible for all parts of town?
Adam's Rib Co. To Go. Come on down and enjoy it. Okay, welcome back to another Dooley Noted podcast presented by Titan MRI from the Meldon Law Gator Studios. And as usual, although it hadn't been usual because Coach Spurrier hadn't been here, but when Coach Spurrier is here, we always have Robbie Andrew to do Yes, No, We Are maybe brought to you on the Big Mills Cheesesteak Zoom line by Big Mills Cheesesteak. And of course, Robbie's appearance is brought to you by Hesser and Kipke. Okay, did I get enough sponsors in there, Robbie? Did I name enough?
You did. You did
there?
a great job, man. Way to go. Keep it up.
I was talking earlier about the Johnny Manziel documentary, and you finally watched that. I mean, when I say finally watched it, I watched it the night it started, or first premiered. You watched it a day later. It wasn't like But your
Johnny
thoughts
football.
on it?
I thought it was really interesting. I mean, he really messed up his life. He's got real issues mentally, that he had all that talent in the world and all that opportunity, and he just kind of threw it away.
And, I mean, the funny thing is, he was NIL before there was NIL. And to me, the biggest thing was the NCAA caught him, and they went, we're going to spend you for a half of a meaningless game. That's it.
Yeah. The one thing that struck me, Pat, was that before the combine, his agent, his posse all said, just get through this. Don't get high. Don't do anything. And he gets high.
Yeah.
Before, a couple of days before the combine, they're trying to cleanse the system out. Like, who does that?
Well, who never watches tape? In the
NFL.
Yeah, Manziel goes 0. He's watched 0 in his life. He didn't come across as a sympathetic figure.
No, he didn't.
Yeah. And then at the end, when you see him at the end, he's drinking a Stella and, having a good time with his buddies doing beer bongs, and where you're like, you still don't get it, do you? But
see, Pat, that's the life he wants, I guess,
Yeah. It is. It's totally the life he wants, and he doesn't care who doesn't like it. And in fact, the one thing is, I was wondering if I might end up on there, because I asked him that question at SEC Media Days. Now that you've won a Heisman Trophy, do you feel like you have to act differently? And they did show his answer. They didn't show me asking the question. They're saving me for Swamp Kings, as we know.
Yeah, that was a good move on their part.
All right, let's play Yes, No, Where, and Maybe with Robbie Andrew. We always love doing it. Brought to you by Big Mills Cheesesteak. The street dining done the right way. They do an amazing job over there, as we know. We love them over there. Keith Miller and his group at Big Mills Cheesesteak. All right, number one on Yes, No, Where, or Maybe, Robbie. Kirk Cousins leads the Vikings to the Super Bowl.
I'm going to say no way on that, Pat. I don't think he could lead anybody to the Super Bowl. I'm a Vikings fan, and he'll have a great game where he throws for 400 yards and 4 touchdowns, and he'll have a game where he throws for 70 yards and no scores and a couple of picks. So he is too inconsistent to lead anybody to the Super Bowl, in my opinion.
Have you watched that quarterback series at all?
Yeah, I'd have, yeah.
I watched it, and everybody goes, "Oh, you're going to really like Kirk Cousins after you watch it. You're going to quit complaining about him." And I watched it, and I went, "No, I'm still the same way. It hadn't changed my mind about anything."
No, nothing changed my mind. And Mahomes can say what a great quarterback the guy is, but I'm not seeing it.
You know who's a good quarterback? Mahomes.
Yeah, he is a good quarterback.
All right,
that would be a yes.
Number 2, we're going to get an early prediction from you here. Florida State will beat LSU.
I'm going to say yes, Pat. I mean, the games in the state of Florida, they beat them last year. They're on a roll. They're really hot right now, and the expectations in Tallahassee are what they used to be, 10 years ago or whatever. And I think that they're going to be really jacked for that game. And I know LSU is going to travel, though, but I think it's going to feel like a home game in a lot of ways for FSU. And I think they get off to a good start and get one leg up toward getting to the playoff.
Yeah, we actually talked.
I've bought into Norvell and what he's done up there.
Yeah, and again got a 5-star again this week. Receiver, which could be actually good news for Florida. They may flip that other guy. So, I mean it's going to be painful to watch if they are, or if they're as good as people think they are. I still think they're not quite there yet. Like when the poll came out, what were they, 6th?
5th or 6th?
Yeah. I go, maybe a little. That's about right.
They're getting it. But the thing is, Pat, with Norvell, when he first got there and after that first year, he had trouble recruiting. But then what they did last year, now look, he's signing 5-star guys. So that's how you do it. You give a coach time. He shows what you do, then he can recruit.
Yeah, and think what Billy Napier is going to be able to do if they start winning games.
Yeah, exactly.
It's amazing that Florida's still got the 3rd-ranked recruiting class, and they've won 6 games each of the last 2 years. They've done a heck of a job. I mean, don't think that doesn't make it harder to recruit, because it certainly does.
Yeah, it does. You're right.
And the other thing Jeff and I were talking about yesterday, FSU and LSU, both of them, I mean, I think the quarterback's a wash. I think the best player on defense is a wash. Jared Verse and Harold Perkins are both to be All-Americans. So, I mean, it's going to be some guys that you don't even think about that end up making the big plays in that game.
Yeah, and both teams are loaded with really good athletes all over the field, so a chance for guys to emerge, no question.
And that's a Sunday night game, right?
Yeah, that should be fun, Pat.
Sunday night college football.
You're already ready for football, aren't you?
I am. Let's get to number 3 on Yes, No, Where, Maybe. Robbie, you are happy school is starting or has started.
Maybe a little bit, yeah. But it kind of feels like the summer ends too when the kids go back to school. So, but that means that football's coming. So yeah, so I'll say yeah. I'm actually glad because we're getting close to the football season, and that's where we all want to be, right?
Exactly. That's you and I are our lives have changed so much in that when we were kids we wanted summer to go on forever. Now we're like, get it over with. Let's get to football.
Get me to September. Games. Yeah.
All right, Robbie, we'll let you go. We appreciate your time coming on.
Yeah, good to see you again.
It was yes, no way, or maybe. Okay, well, great to have Robbie back on. Great to have Coach Spurrier back on today. Man, we're back to normal in a lot of ways here. Let's get to our Adams Ripco to Go Gator of the Week. And, this time of year it's kind of hard to find them. It wasn't hard to find this one. Dudley Hart is our Gator of the Week. He was named the National Assistant Coach of the Year And, look, when you win it all, guess who the National Coach of the Year was? J.C. Deacon. And those guys both had a lot to do with it. Dudley, I've known Dudley for a long, long time, and he's one of my favorite guys in the world. And for him to win that award is really cool, because I remember when they hired Dudley, and I was like, okay, that's kind of a different move, we'll see how I don't know if, I know Dudley really well, but I don't know if he'll be a good coach. You never know. Like, some guys would be a good coaches. You never know. And it turned out he's pretty good. National Coach of the Year. So he is our Adams Ribco to go Gator of the Week. Let's get to our Hesser and Kipke 3 things. And, of course, Hesser and Kipke is a Gainesville law firm specializing in the area of workers' compensation and family law. Ken and Jennifer take great pride in their one-to-one focus on each and every client they represent. Ken is board certified in workers' compensation law by the Florida Bar, while Jennifer possesses extensive jury trial experience and with a nearly 20-year background as a prosecutor. Don't believe me? Well, check out their 5-star Google reviews. Set an appointment at hklawfl.com, or better yet, give them a call at 352-339-9920. Hesser and Kipke, 3 things. Let's go. Number 1, Gene Smith retiring in 2024. Certainly a guy that we've been in the news a lot, and even around here, because of Urban, obviously being up there, and had to suspend Urban and hired, he had to fire Jim Tressel too, and he had to hire Urban and make that hire of Coach May, who has done a pretty good job, but he better start beating Michigan. So anyway, he's been through a lot, and he's been kind of one of the leading voices in everything. Every time they have anything of importance in the NCAA or with the presidents, he's a big factor in it. So he said, and he's had to deal with a lot of stuff, and he's had to deal with navigating NIL, navigating the portal, all that stuff. And he said all this stuff that's going on is not a factor. He just knows when it's time. Like I did. I knew when it was time to retire from the Gainesville Sun. When they offered that buyout. It was time to retire. That seems like a good idea. All right, so number 2 on Hesser and Kipke 3 things. If I didn't mention this, I would catch hell from Ken Hesser. So I did want to mention that Michael Lorenzen threw a no-hitter Wednesday night for the Phillies. Well done. They just got him in a trade from Detroit, and goes out in his first start at home, throws a no-hitter. I guess that was a good trade, I don't know that they gained any ground on my club, because my club won again last night, but congratulations to Michael Lorenzen for throwing the no-no for the Tigers. For the Phillies, but he was traded from the Tigers. 124 pitches, which is, it's a lot, but it's not an excessive amount, because 124 pitches is like, this time of year you should be able to do that, and especially if you got a no-hitter going, you're not coming out. So congratulations to him. And finally, number 3 on Hesser and Kipke 3 things. This is, like we always are saying, I can't wait for the first big NIL IRS story. There's a lot of initials there. But the first big NIL IRS story, and it happened, Texas A&M had to get rid of their NIL arm of their 12th man foundation. Now they have a foundation that raises all this money, but part of it was raising money for NIL and distributing it in NIL. And they go, well, wait a minute, this is supposed to be tax exempt. If you're giving NIL money, you're not tax exempt. And the NCAA, here's the crazy thing. The NCAA came in on this a while back, and they said, you got no power. You can't tell us what to do anymore. We're going to keep doing whatever we want. And they said, no, you got to stop doing it. And then the governor of Texas signed a law, or came up with a law to make the NCAA of no factor in the state of Texas. Basically, they said, you guys can't do anything to anybody. But now the IRS comes in and goes, let's see you pass a law against us. Let's see you stop us from doing it. So they just shut them down. as far as the NIL part of it. But it is, IRS and the NIL they're not meant to be together, and there's going to be more stories that come out about that. All right, that is our Hesser and Kipke 3 things. So let's get to our Leonardo's at Millhopper quick picks. We're finally at the point where we got a bunch of games to choose from. We're going with this one, Jacksonville. Giving, I'm sorry. See, I'm not in betting mode yet. Jacksonville giving 4 points to Dallas at Dallas. Now, I know home field advantage, and it's a preseason. No starters are going to be playing. It's not going to be Prescott against Lawrence. It's going to be Cooper Rush against whoever the backup is in Jacksonville. I don't even know who it is. Blake Bortles' brother, probably. I don't know. But still, I mean, that's a tough bet. Jacksonville giving 4. Against Dallas. Again, if you're betting on preseason games, you're sick. You're a degenerate. But if you're picking them to try to win cool prizes from Pat Dooley, it's okay. I'm okay with it. So that is our Leonardo's at Millhopper quick picks. Let's get to our Swamp games of the week. We got a lot of games to go through. Let's do some baseball ones. Friday, Cleveland at Tampa Bay. It's a 6:40 game. It's on the plus. Also on the plus Saturday, Atlanta at New York, but it's also on Fox. So you can watch it in a couple of different places. And then also Sunday, Atlanta at New York on ESPN. That's a Sunday night game. There's also a Baltimore at Seattle game if you're interested in that. FS1 9:40 on Saturday. That's the baseball. Football Friday night, Green Bay at Cincinnati. And again, I'm going to watch some of these games for a while, not for a long time. I'd rather watch I didn't even mention, I went through the whole Johnny Manziel thing. I was also going to mention the Aaron Rodgers. I watched the first Hard Knocks last night, and it was okay, but it's all about Aaron Rodgers. Nobody else on that team is even there. It's a little much. But the cool thing was that Liv Schreiber showed up, the guy who Aaron Rodgers calls him the voice of God, the guy who narrates all those things, and he did the one that they did at Florida too. But he showed up. It's the first time he's ever been to a Hard Knocks training camp. And it was pretty. He was hilarious. He had some good lines. So I didn't get to that. Anyway, so Green Bay at Cincinnati. The new Aaron Rodgers will be playing for Green Bay, whoever he might be. I don't think Jordan Love will be. Although if you only get 3 preseason games now, right?
Yeah.
So if I'm Green Bay, I'm giving him every chance to play. Although I think he got hurt at some point. I don't know. Maybe not. See, I shouldn't talk about the NFL. All I've been thinking about is college football. All right, we also have these. That game is on the NFL Network. Also that night, Denver, Arizona on the NFL Network at 10. Saturday at 4 o'clock on the NFL Network. There are multiple games. Sunday, same thing. There are 4 games on the NFL Network Saturday and 2 on Sunday. All these games are on the NFL Network, and this is why they're trying to get you to make sure you subscribe to the NFL Network, which I already did, but I'll be watching. I'll watch some of them, parts of some of them. Okay, this, that, and the other. We haven't gotten to this, that, and the other yet. We always love this, that, and the other, but we do appreciate our Swamp of Gainesville games of the weekend, and of course, if you go over there, get a sangria right now would taste really good. But you can go there on Saturday and get one for it's sangria special. You can get all kinds of stuff over there, as you know. We appreciate our friends over at the Swamp. This, that, and the other is brought to you by Ballyhoo Grill, by Darshackow Insurance, and of course by Ironwood Golf Course. Played there yesterday. I got 2 8-holes. I didn't get the 9th hole done. It was so hot, and I just said, I hit a drive on 9, and I couldn't find the ball. It was like it was just in the rough, but it wasn't like I didn't hit it that bad. But I couldn't find it, so I finally said, I had to hell with it. It's too hot. Too hot to look for errant golf balls. But we appreciate Ironwood Golf Course and appreciate, of course, Ballyhoo and Darshackow Insurance. So this is that when Graham Mertz got the job, technically didn't get the job, but when he was the guy Florida went after in the transfer portal, a lot of people, including me, very negative, saying, man, I've watched this guy play. He's not any good. He can't play in this conference. That's the this. The that is then part of the reason why Florida's picked fifth in the East by the media. They watch Graham Mertz play. They're not a big fan. Also, you take a team that's also lost 4/5 of its offensive line. Also has a lot of other, lost a bunch of coaches. That's the reason. But look, if Florida had gotten, let's just say, Spencer Sanders or Grayson Call or the Pratt, the kid at Tulane that I thought they were going to get. Most of those guys got, one of them didn't have the grades, but most of those guys just got crazy NIL money, and that's why they didn't come to Florida. And, of course, Florida was in the middle of the Rashada mess, which, again, was a mess that is over, and I won't mention his name anymore, I promise. So now that I gave you the this, that, now I give you the other. The other is people are starting to come around on Graham Mertz. Now, it only take one game for them to turn back around, but, you know, I know that Shane Matthews has been talking about him very positively. I think Shane sees another Shane there. Not a guy who's got this rocket arm, but who knows where to go with the ball. And he feels good about him. I listened today to Rick Neuheisel praising Graham Mertz and saying, I got news for you. He wasn't good at Wisconsin because Wisconsin wasn't, their offense was pathetic. They didn't get guys open. Nobody got open in that offense. That was the problem he had. Now, you still got to get guys open in this offense. We'll see what happens. But certainly interesting stuff there. So that's this, that, and the other. Mertz has gone from why would you get him to, hey, it may work out. Now, again, it only takes one game for us to change our minds. And we will. And we'll do it right here on another Dooley Noted podcast. Let's finish up with our Pat Dooley story time. And I, of course, it's brought to you by Eastlake Pediatrics, and we love them for all the hard work they do. Appreciate them so much. I said I was going to tell the Mike Griffith story last week, and then I shifted because I had a better story. But I'm going to go ahead and tell it now because now you guys are. And again, I'm not a fan of his. Okay, let's just leave it at that. But this was the Florida-Tennessee game the year after Tennessee won in '98, and we were all out downtown Gainesville Friday night before the game. And Mike was just being weird, and he was going up to, like, Florida fans, going, T. Martin's here. T. Martin's going to come get you. T. Martin this. And I was like, what are you doing? That's not the most, I don't know, professional thing to do. And then now the guy's the head of the College Football Writer Association. I mean, he certainly was a little more immature then, as we all were. And I'm not ripping Mike Griffith. I'm just telling you the story. Because he was so full of confidence that Tennessee was going to come in here and kick Florida's butt again, which they didn't do the year before. They beat them, but they didn't kick their butt. Shouldn't have lost that game. But the next night, Alex Brown had 5 sacks and an interception, and Florida won the game, and T. Martin was there. He just couldn't do anything. It was just a weird night to be out there and having a guy do that. And you're like, what? What are you doing, man? We come out here on Friday night for a football game, and we're just out to have fun. We're not cheering for the Gators or anything like that. Anyway, I'm sure that'll get back to Mike Griffith, but I don't care. All right, that's going to do it for our show. Appreciate Zach for, again, doing a great job again. Next week, we're going to do it on Monday. We'll get it up probably Monday night.
Should be able to, yeah.
Yeah, Monday night. So we're going to do the show on Monday, and then we'll not have a show at the end of the week because I'll be out of town. And then we are ready to go with college football season. I can't wait. I really can't. I can't wait. I can't wait just to sit there and watch college football all day. Hey, everybody's got to have their hobbies. That's mine. Watching college football. All right, that's going to do it for the show. Thanks again for listening or watching another Dooley Noted podcast presented by Titan MRI from the Meldon Law Gator Studios. I am Pat Dooley. I am deep. I am way back, and I am out of here.